Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Sri Radhe Jayo Pancha Tattva Jayo Pancha Tattva Jayo Pancha Tattva Jaya Nishingadev Nrsingadev, Jaya Nrsingadev. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai, Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Stota Shata Shishi Matesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Premchika Hoshi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki Shishi Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Radha Kunda Shyama Kunda Giri Govardhana ki Vrindavan Dama ki Mathura Dama ki Ganga Mai ki, Yamuna Mai ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Tulsi Maharani ki, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki, Harinam Sankirtan ki. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories to the assembled devotees. Oh, glories, Shri Guru and Gaurangi. Oh, glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishta Bhutale Swamine Krishna Prishta Prabhupada Payate Shalvari Paranadaran Kavadi Pamitam Bhakti Saranda Krondantam Parayandime Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavembhyo Namo Namaha. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 9th Canto, 19th chapter, text 3. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Basta eko vane kaschit vichinvan priyamatmana dadarsha kalpe patitam Svakarma Vashagam Majam. Please. Vasta eko vane kaschit vichinvan priyamatmana tadarsha kupe patitam Karma Vashakamaja. Basta eko vane kaschit vichinvam priyamatmana dadarsha kupe patitam svakarma vashakamaja. Basta eko vane kaschit chinvan priyamatmana dadarsha kupe patita svakarmam vashagam vane kaschit chinvan priyamatmana Darsha kupe patita karma vasagamaja. Mataji. Staiko vane kaschit chinvan priyamatmana Dadarsha kupe patita Swakarma Vashagamajam. Basta eko vane kaschid. Chinvam priyamatmana. Darshakupe patitam. Karma Vashagamajam. Basta, goat. Eka, one. Vane, in a forest. Kaschit, some. Vichinvan, searching for food. Priyam, very dear. Atmana, for himself. Dadarsha, saw by chance. Kupe, within a well. Patitam, fallen. Svakarma Vashagam, under the influence of the results of fruitive activities. Ajam, a she-goat. Translation: while wandering in the forest, eating to satisfy his senses, a he-goat by chance approached a well, in which he saw a she-goat standing helplessly, having fallen into it by the influence of the results of fruitive activities. Purport: here Maharaj Yayati compares himself to a he-goat and Devayani to a she-goat, and describes the nature of a man and woman. Like a he-goat, a man searches for sense gratification, wandering here and there, and a woman without the shelter of a man or husband is like a she-goat that has fallen into a well. Without being cared for by a man, woman cannot be happy. Indeed, she's just like a she-goat that has fallen into a well and is struggling for existence. Therefore, a woman must take shelter of her father, as Devayani did when under the care of Shukracharya, and then the father must give the daughter in charity to a suitable man, or a suitable man should help the woman by placing her under the care of a husband. This is shown vividly by the life of Devayani. When King Yayati delivered Devayani from the well, she felt great relief and requested Yayati to accept her as his wife. But when Maharaj Yayati accepted Devayani, he became too attached and had sex life not only with her, but with others like Sharmishta. Yet, still he was dissatisfied. Therefore, one should retire by force from such family life as Yayati's. When one is fully convinced of the degrading nature of worldly family life, one should completely renounce this way of life, take sannyas, and engage himself fully in the service of the Lord. Then one's life will be successful. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyanangyana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Kshyuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupa Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitantam Sajivam Sahadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavembhyo Namo Namaha Namaho Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Krishna Kshetra Swaminiti Namane. While wandering in the forest, eating to satisfy his senses, a he-goat by chance approached a well in which he saw a she-goat standing helplessly, having fallen into it by the influence of results of fruitive activities. Hare Krishna, my obeisances unto you. May I introduce myself? My name is Indulekha Dasi. So we cannot hear well. Okay, can you hear me better? Okay. So Prabhupada in this purport makes few points. One point is the differences of a nature of a man and woman. Then the second point is protection of a woman and the need of woman to be protected. And the third point is a point of retiring from worldly family life and engaging oneself fully in the service of the Lord. So these are the three themes, one could say, that Prabhupada is pointing out in this purport of the story of the Yayati. We could say, oh, it's not like, this is more of like worldly affairs, and Bhagavatam describes all kind of like really far out stories. And sometimes when we see that some personality like a Yayati, I mean, in one sense, we could say that Bhagavatam is full of the stories of the fall downs, but also full of the stories of success. So you can see many great personalities having difficulties or having some so-called faults, and sometimes we can say, oh, like we can be a little bit judgmental, but that's not the right approach to actually hear Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam is here for us to see that it's normal for someone to sleep. It's quite normal in the material world to make mistakes. Even the great personalities do. So we can learn from them. And mainly the stories in Bhagavatam are the stories of a success. And Yayati actually has a great lineage also behind him. And we can see that he had children with Devayani, and from that lineage the Yadu dynasty came. And Krishna appeared in that dynasty. So actually this is the dynasty of sun god. And then with Sharmishta, who was a princess, although made as a slave, she had 3 children. And from that dynasty, from Puru, the Kuru dynasty came. So the Pandavas, the great devotees of the Lord, also came in that lineage. So Yayati is a very great personality, and Devayani is also a very special personality. She's a daughter of Shukracharya. And Shukracharya came in the line of Bhrigu Muni. Unfortunately, he had some enmity with Lord Vishnu, because the demons came once when Shukracharya and his father were away from the home. They came to take shelter in the ashram, and the mother of Shukracharya gave them shelter as like to any living entity. But Vishnu was not very happy, and at the end he actually killed all the demons, and he also killed the mother of Shukracharya. So Shukracharya developed Bhrigu Muni understood the whole motivation of the Vishnu, but Shukracharya actually didn't understand. So he developed enmity toward the Vishnu, and then he started siding with the Asuras, and he became their priest. Actually, he was extremely learned. They were rivals with the Brihaspati. So this is one lineage that it came, but still Vishnu was not like he didn't kill Shukracharya, although the father actually revived back the Shukracharya's wife. But Vishnu was actually not against the Shukracharya because he was a devotee of Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva is a devotee of Vishnu. So in this way, the Vishnu did not take seriously the enmity of Shukracharya. It's kind of interesting that in this so-called little dramatical or like a complication in the life of Yayati and Devayani happened in one sense because of Lord Shiva. As when Lord Shiva was passing the lake, when the girls were bathing naked, all this drama happened. So in one sense, we could speculate that it was Lord Shiva who kind of incited all this kind of drama for his disciple Shukracharya. Yeah, I mean, there are many, if we would like look a little bit at the background of all this story, there could be many interesting points that we could look at. But as Prabhupada focuses here a lot on the nature of man and woman, I just wanted to briefly touch upon that. So, woman's nature is actually Prakriti, and the male's nature is actually Purusha, the enjoyer and the controller. And the female nature is that of a Prakriti, or being enjoyed. So, woman as a weaker, as described in the Shastra, as a physically and emotionally weaker body, a subtle and gross body, is more vulnerable, more sensitive. That's why a woman needs protection. She needs protection physically, and she also needs a protection emotionally. Although, one could say that, in this sense, the woman is in the Shastra like advised to actually stick to Grihastha ashram. It's from her early childhood to the old age. Actually, woman is assigned in Grihastha ashram. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his Shikshamrita, describes that women are allowed to enter only the Grihastha ashram, and in special cases the Vanaprastha ashram. Although some women, being exceptionally qualified by achieving high education, expertise in understanding scripture, and the power of abstinence, may take to brahmachari or sannyas ashram and obtain all success, it is not the normal rule, as women are usually of weaker body, faith, and discriminating power. So this is a little balancing point, but sometimes may be like a controversy. Some women will be upset and they'll say, no, it's not true. It's not true. We can also do it. We can make it. So yes, there is always a rule and there are exceptions to the rules. So we can see also in our past histories, there's Ganga Mata Goswamini, Janava Devi, and Kunti Devi. There are many actually also great souls. I mean, they have been in Grihastha ashram, but Ganga Mata Goswamini took a sannyas, and she became a guru of the king of Puri. So, but generally, woman does need a protection in all stages of her life. She always needs a man. It's due to her psychophysical nature that she can be overwhelmed by the emotions. And sometimes for men, actually, this is very easy. She just needs a man to just tell her one sentence, and all her big cloud or big drainage of the mind takes over is actually... so in this way, she's protected by the man. And man, in order to be able to protect a woman, he actually needs to be spiritually qualified. He needs to also have a training of brahmacharya, where he trains how to control senses and the mind. And when he is spiritually strong, then he can actually give protection to the woman. Now, we can see that in a sense, woman is very fortunate. In one sense, in this age of Kali, they are the most fortunate are Shudras and women. There was once Vyasadeva bathing, and the sages came, and they had a question in their mind, like, what's the most fortunate position to be in the age of Kali? And Vyasadeva, as he was in meditation, he was bathing, he understood their minds. And he started calling out, and he was saying, Shudra sadhu, Shudra sadhu, Striya sadhu, Striya sadhu. So he answered the question. The most fortunate position in the age of Kali is to be a Shudra, or is to be a woman. Bhagavatam describes in the first canto that woman is, she has a tendency to submit easier to the authority, and she kind of has also tendency to believe and accept the authority. As men, due to their discriminating power, sometimes they'll not be so easy to subdue or to just follow. So in this way, woman to actually practice bhakti, it's and we can see that in most religious organizations, the biggest how you call it, congregation are actually women. Women are very easy to actually take to spiritual life because of their weakness, and they have a natural tendency to seek shelter. So naturally a woman, because she feels weak and helpless, she naturally seeks shelter in God. Now, one point that we wanted to mention is that there is a difference between a Vedic marriage and a Vaishnava marriage. In the Vedic marriage, the main focus is on the conditioned nature and gradually actually bring it up to the spiritual level. So it focuses very much on the psychophysical conditioning. And in one sense, we can say, yes, there is, on a spiritual level, there is no difference between a man and a woman. The difference is in that man feels good if he leads. Man feels good if he is in this position, and the woman actually feels good when she is protected, when she is serving. This is, she really feels happy, and sometimes there will be a feministic, how you call it, stream in this world where woman wants to be liberated, and of course there are reasons behind, because like even nowadays in Islam, woman is greatly suppressed and also abused physically and emotionally. So the intelligent woman will not want to accept this kind of abuse, so sometimes they may turn to the feminism, but still their conditioned nature is that they can be happy and peaceful only when they are protected and only when they are protected by a man. As a woman is a negative principle. Feminine energy is a negative principle, and the masculine energy is a positive principle. So woman needs that so-called positive masculine energy to be actually able to progress. And of course, like Prabhupada has kind of advised that devotees establish Daivi Varna ashram, because he have seen that many devotees still had a very deep rooted conditioning, and unless one has some support in one's conditioned nature, it creates too much stumbling blocks for one to advance. So the kind of rules and regulations from Varna Ashrama actually help one. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Chaitanya Shikshamrita mentions that if mental rules, if not followed, then realization, the concentration, imagination, contemplation, and judgment will be weakened and will not fully progress. So these are very important things in our spiritual life. The realization is very important. We cannot, if we may just study things theoretically and we will not realize things in life. So if we follow rules and regulations, the realization will come. We will understand why the Shastra is saying man is superior, woman is inferior, why woman needs a protection. This realization comes by following the rules and regulations. And also like the concentration, that we can actually focus in our chanting, we can focus in our bhakti or in our activity comes when we follow rules and regulations. This frees the mind to focus, because the lower material nature and the senses are properly regulated, so the concentration is better. Imagination also. The imagination, it is actually important in spiritual life, in our meditation, because in one sense whatever we read in Bhagavatam or about the Lord is abstract. We need another higher faculty of the intelligence, which is imagination or abstract thinking, to be actually able to reconnect. Otherwise, it's like, if I don't see, I can't believe. And that's why it's also like advised for small children to read to them or to tell them stories. Not just like put them in front of TV and give them games, but telling stories, reading to children actually develops their abstract intelligence, which is very necessary for spiritual realization and spiritual life. And contemplations, so like we said, this is all progressive. If we follow rules and regulations, then there's certain goodness is established, and then we can reflect, we can contemplate, we can go really much deeper. And judgment, like we said, it all brings us to the higher levels, so we can also judge. He also says that there will be no advancement in science, and one will not be able to take mind away from material thoughts and divert it to God if one does not follow the mental rules. And social life actually is centered around the family life and the marriage. And the marriage has to promote mutual brotherhood, helping others in difficulty. It's in marriage, the honest earning is one of the very essential things for spiritual advance, and speaking the truth and avoiding lying. So these are very important factors to cultivate in the family life in order for one to be able to actually make a progress, or get the realizations, really connect that the spiritual life is not just a mechanical on the surface, but we really get their realizations and innerly, spiritually develop. So on the second part, Prabhupada mentions that one has to retire from this kind of a yayatis family life, a worldly family life. Because in his family life, he really got attached to sensual and sexual enjoyment. And this is what one wants to retire. There exist two paths for human being. One is pravriti marg and nivritti marg. One is the path of renunciation, and one is the path of sense gratification. And for majority, unless one has realizations, probably from previous life, it's very difficult to take directly to the path of renunciation. So one sometimes has to go through some sense gratification in order to be able to control the mind and the senses. And that's very nicely described in 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in 20th chapter, the chapter of pure devotional service. Eshavai paramayogo manasa sangraha smrita hridaya gyatva manvichan dam yasyeva rato muho. An expert horseman desiring to tame a headstrong horse first lets the horse have his way for a moment, and then, pulling the reins, gradually places the horse on desired path. Similarly, the supreme yoga process is that by which one carefully observes the movements and desires of the mind and gradually brings them under full control. We can see how Prabhupada was very, very deeply understood these techniques of controlling the mind and the senses. And we can see that when he started the movement, he did not in the beginning just say, you have to do all this. He didn't. He just let it. He let them be as they are. And then gradually he pulled the strings of the horse. So mind and senses, we cannot expect that they can be just controlled. Like children, we can't expect from children to, be controlled and do everything. It's a very gradual process. And so it's a process of enjoyment and restraint. And this is where the rules and regulation helps with restraining, like in social life. And but there is a need to let the reins go. If we don't, actually one can just explode and then just get wild. The senses and mind will get wild, and then they don't want to have anything to do with it. So one has to be very careful, and one has to arrange one's own life in such a way that he can gradually bring the mind and senses under the control. The purport says that just as an expert rider immediately knows the propensity of untamed horse and gradually brings the horse under the control, an expert yogi allows the mind to reveal its materialistic propensities and then controls them through superior intelligence. A transcendentalist withholds and supplies sense objects so that the mind and senses remain fully controlled, just as a horseman sometimes pulls sharply on the reins and sometimes allows the horse to run freely. So the bhakti yoga, it's not artificial process. So one restrains the senses, but still one has to engage the senses positively into the service of the Lord by seeing the beautiful form of the Lord, by tasting delicious prasadam offered to the Lord, by hearing beautiful glories about the Lord and His pastimes, about His devotees, and by embracing the devotees, engage one's senses in cooking, in cleaning, in walking to the temple, Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita mentions that, yeah, that's the process of bhakti yoga. Get up, rise up early in the morning, attend Mangalarati, pick some flowers, pick tulsi leaves, do some deity worship, cook for Krishna, and and the rest of the day one can also engage in helping to spread this mission of Lord Chaitanya in one way or another. The rider never forgets his actual goal or destination and eventually places the horse on the right path. We can see Yayati. He actually never forgot the goal. He was actually, although he was in his family life with Devayani and Sharmishta and all this, he actually was worshipping Vishnu, and he had deep within a desire that I will one day achieve liberation. And there's another verse in the 11th canto, Tateno Kampa Susamikshamana, which also speaks about that devotee sometimes engages in sense gratification, but he feels bad about it. He regrets it, and he just hopes that, yes, I will be able to come up to the standard. So this regret is very important in our progress. That regret Krishna understands, and this regret cleanses the heart, purifies the heart. Similarly, a learned transcendentalist, even though sometimes allowing the senses to act, never forgets the goal of self-realization, nor does he allow the senses to engage in sinful activity. So that's also very important. At least that much one has to be actually trained up, at least from the childhood, that one avoids engaging in sinful activities. Excessive austerities or restriction may result in great mental disturbance, just as pulling excessively on the reins of the horse may cause the horse to reap against the rider. The path of self-realization depends upon clear intelligence, and the easiest way to acquire such expertise is surrender to Krishna. Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, Teshan sata tayuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamo payantite. One may not be great scholar or spiritual intellect, but if one is sincerely engaged in loving service to the Lord without personal envy or personal motivation, the Lord will reveal from within the heart the methodology required to control the mind. Expertly riding the waves of mental desires, a Krishna-conscious person does not fall from the saddle and eventually rides all the way home back to Godhead. So, this is one very important way to understand for a stable Krishna consciousness, where one can actually practice Krishna consciousness throughout one's life. And Bhagavatam also very nicely describes the glories of that chanting of the holy name, which actually allows even one who comes from a very degraded background to actually surpass the Vedic or lifestyle, and can actually become transcendental. Yannamadeya shravananukirtanatyat pravanatyat smaranadapi kvachit Svadopi sadhya savanaya kalpate kuta putaste bhagavan darshanat. To say nothing of the spiritual advancement of persons who see the Supreme Personality face to face, even a person born in a family of dog eaters immediately becomes eligible to perform Vedic sacrifices if he once utters the holy name of Supreme Personality of Godhead or chants about him. hears about his pastimes, offers him obeisances, or even remembers him. This is the glory of the holy name. And we are very, very, very fortunate. We have actually achieved this holy name by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Arnaiko Kalir boy, Arnaiko Kalir boy, Achandale de nama nitai doyamoy. There is no fear of this age of Kali. There is no fear of this age of Kali. Why? Because Lord Nityananda gave the holy name to even the Chandalas. And then he says, Ek bar dekle chakshe jal, ek bar dekle chakshe jal, Gaura bole nitai den shakale shambal. If Lord Nityananda only once sees a tears in one's eyes, when one chants, Gauranga! 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 Lord Nityananda, when he sees a tear in the eye, when one chants the Lord, Gauranga, he gives himself to that person. So we are so extremely fortunate to be actually able to reside in the holy place of Lord Chaitanya, where the holy name is heard day and night. We are extremely, extremely fortunate. So I would end on this note, and maybe some senior devotees, Vaishnavas, or anyone present here would like to contribute, give some. Yes, please, Prabhu. It is all by mercy of Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. I have only repeated what I have heard.
So during your talk, you used the word or the term imagination. And I'm kind of new to that term as far as...
I didn't hear the previous word that I mentioned, the term?
Imagination.
Imagination, yes.
So, I don't think I really grasped what you were trying to say. You said that Krishna is somewhat abstract and we need to use our imagination to understand him?
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yes. I mean, this is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur also, like, he mentions this word imagination. I have heard, I don't know, somewhere in a class, that you see, with the gross senses, this is why we actually do not perceive the Lord's form. We do not, unless one who is pure devotee, Pramanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena, only with this type of eyes we can actually directly perceive the Lord. But when one is on a conditioned level, when one is not yet pure, we cannot perceive Lord's presence directly, isn't it? Do you understand that point? So sometimes we hear things, and there are things that we have actually never seen or experienced. Like sometimes we may read a book, and it will describe different characters, persons, places, and for that we need imagination. We imagine in our mind whatever we hear. We make up a picture in our mind. That is called imagination. It's a faculty of intelligence that we can imagine.
I recently saw some artwork that was being shared on social media, and an artist had used his imagination in painting a picture of Lord Nrsingadev. But the devotees were very upset with this painting. It made Lord Nrsingadev look very gruesome. His eyes were dark, and so, you know, I'm just not sure how I'm going to be able to use my imagination properly, or artists or other people.
Yes.
Because if we give them, you know, license to use their imagination, we may come up with all kinds of things.
Yes, yes, yes.
You know, rasabas. You know,
I
like,
think
like
the Rajendra Nandan Prabhu wants to comment something.
It is nice when we hear our previous acharyas like Bhaktivinoda Thakur expand our conception, our thoughts about the process of bhakti, but the definition that you shared with us, imagining what we've heard from Scripture, we don't realize it, we're not seeing it, but within our minds, in our mind's eye, we're trying to conceive of it. So that's different from the speculation that you're talking about with Nrsingadev or somebody else. Just often the word Prabhupada would use the imagination in the negative sense of we are not meant to speculate at all. It has no place in devotional service, but the context that you gave, that's encouraged. We should try to conceptualize or visualize within our mind what we're hearing from Scripture.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Yeah, yeah. So words are always, to understand, we have to try and hear the definition that the acharya is giving, because we don't want to get hung up simply on the word because somebody else uses it differently. Because Prabhupada's not going to say anything different in essence or in the principles than Bhaktivinoda Thakur, so it's a matter of aligning the two definitions.
Krishna and, you know, without the Shastra, Krishna and the spiritual world is beyond our imagination, right? So, yeah, inconceivable. But we hear the Shastra, we see the deity, and we interact with the deity and the devotees, and we contemplate the Shastra. So we're hoping for some divine revelation, some vision, that we're given some vision by divine grace. And I think that's really what we're aiming for. That's the concept. And I haven't read all of Srila Prabhupada's books, but I haven't really heard any devotee use the word imagination so far.
Yes, I picked it
so
from.
So I became confused, and I apologize.
Yes. So I think that Rajendra Nandan Prabhu explained very well, and my spiritual master personally, he is very much encouraging us in actually going deep within. He would ask us to write monologues or snapshots on particular, or just like Krishna Lila, he will ask us to expand on it, expand the details on particular pastimes, or a snapshot, there's like particular, and just go within. Because if we practice the bhakti mechanically, you see but I said, I don't know, imagination, I have actually not been scrutinizingly going into the dictionary and really seeing beyond, so not to bring a confusion among all of you. I have not analyzed things sufficiently. I just grabbed it quickly, something. But this faculty of abstract thinking, of intelligence, if it is not engaged in bhakti and does not develop our Krishna consciousness, it can actually pull us down. So whatever we have, whatever sensual, mental or intellectual faculties are there in our material body, if they are not engaged in the Krishna's service, they will actually be engaged in material level. And something really nice I would like to share, what I heard from Bhanu Swami, and I was really inspired by that. And he said that the more we engage senses in devotional service of the Lord, that our spiritual senses develop. So it means if I only engage one sense, the more I engage, the more our spiritual body is developing. So we should feel encouraged in many ways to use not only the hands, the legs, the tongue, the eyes, the ears, but also emotions, the emotional, mental faculties, intellectual faculties, and also our identification like a ego in Krishna consciousness. Because the more we develop, we engaged the material mind, body and senses, we connect with the Lord, our spiritual body develops. This is what I heard from Bhanu Swami. Someone else wanted to say something? Yes? Daya.
Hare Krishna. Maybe better I speak, my English not enough, okay. Speak for same language, okay? You translate.
Okay, yes, I can translate for you.
Ako sam pravilno razumio, Prabhu objašnjava da imaginacija je u stvari laž, da to nije, to je njegov kao problem, ako sam pravilno razumio, kao da to nije istina, ali koliko sam ja razumio što ti pričaš, autoriteti što govore, imaginacija samo pomaže da se razotkrije apsolutna istina. A ta imaginacija mora biti potvrđena od autoriteta.
He is asking that if that imagination only helps one to realize the Supreme, and that imagination becomes confirmed by the authority. You see, I have a limited understanding and a limited realization, and I can only speak as far as my realization allows, and I'm very tiny and insignificant. So I understand that spiritual life is actually within. The spiritual life is something that is within us, and it's our own responsibility. And like if we hear like and until one is really on the self-realized stage, when one is fully purified and free of envy, then one cannot really perceive the Lord face to face. But that does not mean that we do not endeavor. Because if we don't endeavor in this direction, our faculties will be used in material realm. And it is, of course, like I try, because I try to picture the Lord in my mind when I chant. I try until the Lord appears. This is how I use my mind. I try to recollect all my emotion of love and affection that I have a capacity for, and I try to feel it for the Lord. Maybe the process of bhakti may seem to be artificial in the beginning, but the more I try, the more it will become real. And the more it will become realized. And maybe, yes, I imagine. And what is the fault of imagining? I'm not imagining sense gratification. I think if I don't, I will imagine some other scenes of material sense gratification. But if I imagine Krishna, is this a sin? Is this a fault? Or maybe can this help me in my progress of bhakti? And of course, when I will become free, I mean, Krishna will see that I do try to love him, that I want to establish my relationship with him. When Krishna sees this desire, maybe one day he will appear in front of me. Maybe he will speak to me. Maybe. But I can only hope and try. That's all what I can say. That's how much my realization is. And yes, someone else had something?
And also what you've been explaining about imagination. Actually, Bhagavad Gita, when in universal form, is an act of imagination. Seeing Krishna's hair while looking the trees is an act of imagination. Oh, these are Krishna's hairs. So it doesn't mean to think about Krishna in the way I want to, but in the way as it is described, whether in the universal form or whether when we hear the descriptions of our acharyas. And what I was willing to say is that Prabhupada does mention, I don't have the quote here, imagine, regarding chanting the holy name. Imagine Krishna's pastimes. So I don't remember the words exactly, but I can share them in the forum, if you like, and we can read. Prabhupada is saying that we can imagine, actually we should imagine Krishna. So Prabhupada does mention this word. Thank you very much, I really like it, your points.
Yes, Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. I just want to share, one time I asked Jananivas Prabhu one question concerning this. Because one time I asked him, when we are chanting, can we try to, like, thinking of a particular deity or meditating on a particular pastime of Lord Krishna? He said, not necessary. He said, when we are chanting, we only use our tongue and we use our ear. It has nothing to do with our mind. He said, if when we are chanting our japa, we try to meditate on the particular deity's form, that is also like when we just involved in this process of meditation, then that is gyan, that is not a japa. We cannot fully achieve the result, the fruit of japa. Only when we simply chant and hear, one day Krishna will be revealed from our heart. He said that is a natural process. If we want to try to, we can use the word imagine or something, then we put a frame on Krishna. So better let him to reveal himself. That's what I heard. I want to share this.
First of all, thank you so much for a very nice class. I wanted to just pick up on the point you made, because that's something that I've been struggling with whilst chanting, how to focus the mind. And I had the privilege of visiting a very elevated soul recently in Bhubaneswar. And the analogy was given that when we are work in progress, when we haven't yet reached, we are simply work in progress. In my case, I'm starting my work. So when you're starting your work, how do you focus on chanting? So I was advised that actually our capabilities are not coming from us. We have no capability, as a matter of fact. We are simply supposed to beg for the ability. And we cannot actually beg ability or anything from Krishna. We don't have the adhikar yet. Although Krishna is providing us everything, our connection with him needs to come to a level where we actually have the qualification to ask. So what we can do is, what I understood was that we beg our guru to give us the ability. That's all we can really do. So I'll just share with you personally what's helped me recently, very recently, after visiting this Maharaj, is that I am imagining every time I chant, because my mind is so fickle, I cannot focus on chanting at all because I'm starting. So I have used a technique which has been approved by this Maharaj. And he says, yes, as a baby, you need to hold the wall when you're walking. You need to hold a finger. You know, you're guided throughout the process. So what I started doing is, I have some relationship with my Guru Maharaj. I can't say I have an amazing relationship, but I have some relationship with my Guru Maharaj. So when I'm chanting, I'm imagining, how can I serve my Guru Maharaj? That's number one. Second level, I'm thinking of my Param Guru, who, with whose help I still stayed in the movement. So because the mind wants to flicker, I'm using him, because by the time I'm focusing on my Guru Maharaj, my mind starts to wander again. I can't even focus on my Guru Maharaj for too long. So my mind needs something else. So then I said, okay, I'll go to my Param Guru. So I'm thinking about him. And then when I'm thinking about him, my mind wanders again. So I'm thinking, who do I go to? I go to Prabhupada afterwards. So I give him a flower. So after that, my mind is wandering again. Who do I go to? So then I pray to the holy name itself. I say, please help me.
Thank you. I mean, from all your contributions, one thing I could only conclude is that the process of bhakti is very internal and is personal. And we need a personal guidance from our spiritual master. Like your Jananivas Prabhu gave you some guidance, and another person may get a completely opposite guidance. And we have seen this also with Srila Prabhupada, that, you know, spiritual life is not a cookie cutter. It doesn't fit everyone the same. Like the main thing is that we have to know it works for me. I get a result. I'm Krishna conscious. And if something does not give me Krishna consciousness, I should try, you know, another way. I have to really see, is this increasing my Krishna consciousness? This is the measurement to see in our spiritual life. It's not that someone is, I have to be exactly the same copycat. Spiritual life is very personal and individual, and our path, that's why we need spiritual master to guide us personally.
I just to remember the pastime of the Brahmana. When he really wanted to serve Krishna, and he was very, very poor, and then he imagined all the process, all what he wanted to do with Krishna, and he prepared the prasad, he prepared everything, and with his imagination, even he just touched the sweet rice to see if it's hot or not, and he burned the finger. It's his imagination.
Okay. Thank you all very much for your questions and comments. It really helped us to understand the subject matter in a deeper way. Thank you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vanchakalpatarubhascha kripasindhavya vachapati pranam pavanebhyo vaishnavyo namo.